Right now, I will be having a conversation with Dr. Sandra Owens. She is an advocate for vulnerable children, adults, and older adults in Nevada. She's a licensed clinical social worker. She has 20 years of experience as a university professor teaching graduate and undergraduate social work students. Dr. Owens is definitely the person that gets the job done. If you want the job done, you need to be reaching out to her because she gets the job done. And the funds raised for research and training for mental health care. Welcome to Ladies First, Dr. Owens. It's a pleasure having you on the show.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you for that warm welcome. It's very interesting. I always tell people, if you want something done, get a social worker. If you have a board, get a social worker on that board. I think we bring together all of the expertise and all of the values that help society. And so I'm glad you said that. And before I listen to your first question, I just wanted to segue with your discussion of the Super Bowl. As a social work practitioner and researcher, I have long known that Super Bowl championships in NFL, NBA championships, whatever city they go to, they see an insurge of prostitution and human trafficking. And they said when the Super Bowl gets to Vegas in a couple of years, they say it's going to look like we just have visitors from all over the universe here. And so with that said, as community members, we see something, we need to say something. We need to help these women, help them find alternative avenues and alternative things to do with their bodies. And we have a number of new programs. Even within the last 6 months, I was offered a job to help women who are trafficked. They wanted someone who was calm, someone who was Black, someone who would be able to relate to them. I ultimately did not take that job because I have branched out into my own business, and I think that's part of the reason why Ramon Savoy invited me to talk. I'm going. I've already done like a soft launch. I haven't launched it fully, but I posted on Facebook a little bit about myself and the fact that I was in business for myself. And it's a new venture for me to not work for the city or county or state agency, because that's what I've done all of my 54 years of adult working. I've worked for other people, and I've enjoyed it, and I've always given in service. But now I'm just going to work from home 100% and do what I can to continue to help the community. So thank you. Thank you for welcoming me, Cheryl.
Yes, absolutely. So I do want to piggyback off what you said about now you're in business for yourself. So you do a lot, and you've done a lot with academics, with research, with training, and with publications. You've now ventured out on your own with your own company, Dr. Sandra Owens, Research, Training, and Consulting. You're doing 3 different things. Please explain the components of what it is you do.
Thanks for asking. When I decided to form my LLC a few months ago, I had to come up with a title. I've always had a side business, 1099 consulting, doing expert testimony, helping nonprofits. And so I've always had to file, taxes regarding what I've done. I just have never done it full time. So when I had to come up with this name, the person working with me said, well, you can't do, you have to pick one area. I said, but I can't. I said, I do all 3, and I want to do all 3. And he said, okay. And so as I've developed my websites, I have 3 websites that I'm going to be launching soon. One of them was launched today, drsandraowens.com. And so that's one of my businesses, and I'll have 2 more launching later this month. But research is because I love research, I love knowledge, I love education. And what did our parents tell us growing up? They can't take your education from you. You get that degree, you get that certificate, you get that training. Yep. So research is it's the foundation. It's the foundation of the other 2. And so the training, after I have my degrees, and while I was getting my degrees, I made sure that I received additional ongoing training, that I volunteered, that I was a social work intern, but then also, a volunteer intern, that unpaid intern. And so I wanted training in addition to that foundation of education. And then the consulting came to me. People have come to me and said, my daughter's going through divorce, bad custody battle. I see on your resume you used to work for the custody and mediation office. Can you interview her and the child and write a report for the judge? I'm like, sure I can. And so the consulting has come to me by people who know me, by word of mouth. Directors of workforce development programs. Like, we have some men here who came out of prison and women who came out of prison. They're in a workforce development, construction trades program, but they're not finishing. And we're finding that they're depressed. They have substance abuse. Can you come over and help? And so I would come over for 3 or 4 months while they're in their program and do assessments and find out one of them needed a driver's license. Another one needed a place to stay for 2 weeks. Again, had gotten kicked out. Another one needed substance abuse counseling. And I can make those referrals, get them those services, and their graduation rate doubled for that cohort of men who were coming out of the terrible prison system, trying to get their lives back, but couldn't focus, couldn't come to a free workforce development program. And so I consulted with that agency for years, and with several of those cohorts of men. And the tears that they and the families had at graduation, it just lifted my heart. And so at this phase in my life, I want to do more of that consulting. So now I'm going to start soliciting nonprofits. Is there a way I can help reach your goals? Is there a grant that you need some help writing the report? And so that's one of the areas I'm going to be doing, trying to still help the community, but being more strategic in terms of getting my name and my expertise to the in front of the people who can hire me to consult with their agency so that they reach their goals and our community just gets better. That's the real purpose of this LLC that I've begun in this new venture.
Okay, so you said research, consulting, and what is the third one?
It was research, training, and consulting.
Training, okay. And what areas do you train in?
For me, most of my training is related to teaching. I teach cross-cultural competency courses. I've taught them for water districts, senior care centers, teaching people how to understand each other's culture so they can get along in the workplace and do a better job. And I've also done training in human behavior and the environment and aging. Aging has been my area of expertise. And so that's my dissertation was about African-American female caregivers of their elderly parents. And so that's the area where I train people to be better caregivers. I've also done training in the foster care system and the DCFS system, training social workers to be more culturally competent with the children in their care and training them about the Indian Child Welfare Act and making sure they followed the law and tried to find other Native parents for Native American children that came into care and letting them know they had to, or otherwise we would lose federal dollars. You couldn't just say I couldn't find any. There are some. We didn't find them in this state. We can find them in another state. And so helping social workers understand the importance of culture, religion, values of the kids that they're caring for. Yes, they need to eat, drink, and sleep, but culture and your support system is very, very important. And so that's another area of work that I'll be doing in searching for contracts for training workers, social workers, doctors, nurses to be more competent in the healthcare system because we're going through COVID. Things are worse than they were a year ago. The system was already bad in terms of our outcomes with healthcare. And so we can only imagine it was compounded. And so I'm right now developing a training for doctors, nurses, and social workers in the healthcare fields.
And do you mentor?
Yes, I mentor. Oh my God.
So you do 4 things. Yes. You just added something else.
Okay, you made me just write that down. I mentor.
Right.
I did not put that on my list of already. Because that's what I've done generously and freely and without compensation all my life. And so it's hard to think about mentoring as one of my aspirations in terms of making money this year. But thank you for pointing that out. It's something that I enjoy doing, and it's my way of giving back. It's my way of paying it forward. It's my way of telling people, look at the silver lining of where you are in this situation. Look at the optimistic ways you can go from here. Because people often come to me crying, depressed, divorced. I was on a workshop a few months ago, the weekend after George Floyd died. I was with lawyers, and the lawyers were like, do I go to work Monday? May I cuss somebody out? Can you help me? I'm like, yes, call me. We'll do a little coaching session before you go to work Monday. I'll have you together with some referrals and resources and tips. And we did that with several of the people after the webinar because it was just such a heart-wrenching experience. They're like, I'm angry. I've never been this angry, and I have to go to work with people that don't look like me. It's like, oh, I can talk about that. I've done all my life. And so it's like I've often been the only Black person. I was the first Black.